Didn't say what?
What lesson?
Oh, in the subject, it should say. Pretty sure we're up to 68.
68.
68. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Zoom, and now we're going to share screen. What is it? There we go. Okay. Does anyone see my screen? Yes? Okay, very good. So the first thing that we're going to discuss, so we're still, here, let me see just something real quick. Okay. So the beginning of this discussion is going to continue more with the theme of what happens if a person remembered or realized that they had a seminal emission. After that, we're going to start discussing the laws of where is the appropriate place to be standing for prayer. Are you allowed to pray in the bathroom? Etc. So, the Brisa further elaborates on the first halacha, the first law that we learned in the Mishnah, and the Brisa goes as follows. Our sages taught if someone was standing in prayer and they recalled that they had a seminal emission, they should not interrupt their prayer, rather they should abridge and make it small. One who is reading the Torah and recalled that he experienced a seminal emission does not interrupt their reading, but rather reads quickly with less than perfect diction. Meaning, when you're reading it, you should make a little bit of a mistake. Or don't be as precise in your reading. Rabbi Meir disagrees, and Rabbi Meir says, one who experienced the seminal emission is not permitted to read more than 3 verses in the Torah, because 3 verses is the minimum that you're allowed to read. Whenever you start reading in the Torah, you're never allowed to read less than 3 verses. So if a person is reading the Torah in the shul, then they read 3 verses and then they stop and let someone else continue after. It was taught in another brisa. One who is standing in prayer and saw feces before him. Say you're praying at home, and all of a sudden you realize that there's a dirty diaper in front of you. Or say you're out in the field, and all of a sudden you realize, or even you're outside in your garden, and you're praying or you're saying the Shema, and then you see that your dog has left a turd right in front of you. So you have to walk forwards until you're 4 cubits away from, about 6 feet away from it. And it has to be 6 feet behind you. The Gemara challenges this. Didn't we learn in another brisa that it doesn't have to be 6 feet behind him? It's sufficient if he distances himself 4 cubits to the side. So it doesn't have to be behind him, it's allowed to be to the side of him. The Gemara resolves this contradiction. This is not difficult, because that brisa that said it has to be 4 cubits behind him is talking about a case where he's able to walk 6 feet in front of the turd. But what happens if your fence is there? The brisa, which taught that he may distance himself 4 cubits to the side, is talking about a case where it's not possible to walk 4 cubits forward, in which case he must at least step to the side. Zaman, I'm sure this doesn't apply to you, but there are a few people who live in my complex whose dogs leave their stuff all over. And let me ask you this, Zaman. In dog culture, is it considered despicable to not clean up after one's dog?
Yes.
In what culture?
In dog, I don't own a dog, so I don't really know the culture.
Well, you're supposed
but
to, yeah.
People look down upon.
Yes.
Yeah, it's considered bad manners not to pick up after your dog. And I confess I'm guilty.
But not right outside someone's front door.
No, you wouldn't leave it. No, I mean, if it's right outside someone's front door, but no, then you would definitely pick it up. But like if you're out in the middle of the park or something, you're supposed to pick it up, and I don't always do it.
Right.
And while we're on
I'm
the
shocked.
topic, you're shocked?
Solomon,
Sorry?
I'm shocked.
Oh,
I'm
well.
shocked.
And by the
You
way,
don't-
I couldn't help
You don't
that
sound
last
like somebody
paragraph,
that-
Rabbi,
Yeah.
that last paragraph, someone is praying and all of a sudden they recall they had a seminal emission in the middle of the prayer. Suddenly, they suddenly says, "Oh yeah." I mean, obviously wasn't concentrating too much on his prayer. That all of a sudden that pops into his head.
Hey, Solomon, I got a question for Solomon. Why would you leave it in the middle of a park when somebody might want to walk in the field there? It doesn't sound like you. I don't know you, but from listening to you all these months, that doesn't sound like you.
Well, what can I say? I'm slightly less than perfect.
Oh, I'm greatly less than perfect, but I'm just surprised. I'm trying to give you some Jewish guilt.
Well, I do feel guilty.
Zalman, I want
about
to
it.
thank you for your honesty. I want to thank you for your honesty, and it is to be applauded because
Man,
well, I'm going to use the word confess. To confess in public audiences is not an easy thing. Much easier to
I figure
not say anything.
I figure it rains so much around here that in a couple times it'll get washed away real quick.
Yeah.
Mm.
But one thing I can tell you is that in the Talmud, it says, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It says if a person has committed a sin, they should tell in front of the public, they should tell their sin, and the embarrassment of people telling them off itself is a form of atonement.
good,
How are you this morning?
good.
I'm good. I'm glad I gave him atonement.
And my African is good.
On the other side, on the flip side, it also says, and we're also going to get there, that a person should rather throw themselves into a kiln of fire than to embarrass their friend in public.
The 81 is
I gotta go find a kiln.
So, now we're all here to learn. We're all here to learn.
Okay, 93.
93 is
Yes, not too bad.
not too bad.
So, if next time you're walking in the street or not walking in the street, next time you're in your yard, you have to be careful. And this happens often when you're driving on a long trip. And say you go to the bathroom at a rest stop and then you come out and not like the gas station rest stops, but like the real rest stops in Susie, you know what I'm talking about, right? Between here and South Carolina. So you stop at these rest stops, and sometimes it's right next to a field. You might have horses or cows inside the field, and you might want to step off to the side of the road and pray. And so you just have to be careful that there's no turds in front of you.
Of course.
But you could also go into your car and shut the windows. I'll pray in the car.
Okay, so I'm saying, why don't you go into your car and shut the windows?
But
The issue is that you can't stand in your car.
Yeah.
Okay. The Gemara cites another halacha, another law. If somebody is praying, and then afterwards they found feces in the place where they prayed, there's a disagreement. Rabbah said that although they have committed a transgression in their failure to examine the venue to determine whether it was worthy of prayer, their prayer is a valid prayer and they have fulfilled their obligation. What do we learn from here? That before you pray, you have to make sure that the place where you're praying is an appropriate place to pray. So if afterwards you found that there was feces there, then you have transgressed and you have failed to examine your venue, yet your prayer is still a valid prayer. Rava strongly objects to his statement and says, isn't it stated that the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination, the more so as he offers it in depravity? From which we derive that a mitzvah which is performed inappropriately is no mitzvah at all. Consequently, the fact that they didn't pay proper attention to make sure that they're praying in an appropriate place invalidates their prayer. Rather, Rava said that because this person has committed a transgression, although they did pray, their prayer is an abomination, and they must pray again in a clean space. The sages taught in a brisa. If somebody is standing in prayer and they're busting for the bathroom and urine starts flowing down their knees. You know the story of the little kid? Puts up his hand and tells his teacher he needs the bathroom really urgently. And the teacher says, first you have to say all the ABCs. The kid says, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And the teacher says, what happened to the P? And he says, it's running down my pants. Right, so someone who's standing in prayer, and for whatever reason, urine began flowing down their knees. So, while a person is in the middle of urinating, they're not allowed to pray. So, to what point in prayer is a person supposed to return? We're all going to get older, and at a certain point, we're going to figure out that we're, what's the word, incontinent?
Yeah.
So, there's always one time that you find out. Right? We don't necessarily get a warning. So, the person must interrupt their prayer because while a person is urinating, it's not appropriate to pray. And then when it stops, they may resume praying. The Gemara asks, to what point in prayer does he return when they resume to their prayer? Rav Chisda and Rav HaManuna disagreed. One said they must return to the beginning of the prayer. The other said they must return and continue from where they left off. One says you continue where you left off. The other one says you have to start praying again. Question is, what is the disagreement here? What's the logic behind this disagreement? So the Gemara notes, perhaps let us say that the following is what their argument is based on. And let's all give ourselves a big round of applause for having finished 22 complete pages of the Talmud.
The year and a half.
Bravo. Rabbi, if the person's incontinent, they're not going to remember the beginning of the prayer.
Well, was it
Do they have to wash? Laurie, Rabbi?
Yes.
If the urine is going down their leg, do they have to wash before resuming the prayer or starting over?
This is a good question. From my understanding, that unless they touch either a part of their body which is usually covered, or if they touch the urine itself, so if they don't touch either of those, then they would not have to wash their hands.
What about the rest of what about their legs? If it's running down their legs?
So I mean, washing their hands is talking about where their hands would touch. So their legs would have touched it, yes, but not their hands.
Right, but do they have to wash their legs too? They have to wash their whole body.
They have to wash their legs. So yes, they should take a shower, but they don't have to take a shower before continuing their prayers. So the issue here is that while we're in the middle of the standing prayer, the Amida, we're not supposed to interrupt, we're not supposed to move, we're supposed to just focus on the fact that we're standing before God, praying to God. So we shouldn't start walking around and taking a shower in the middle of our prayer. So that's where the all of this, I don't know if we should say the problem here, but I guess the problem here is that we can't walk in middle of the prayer. Unless of extreme circumstances. Like if you're praying in the plane and the seatbelt sign goes on, then you walk back to your seat and you sit down and continue your prayers. So one sage held that as a rule, if one interrupted their prayer and paused, continuing their prayer for an interval sufficient to complete the entire prayer, they return to the beginning of the prayer. And the other one holds that even if they paused for a long time, they return to the place in prayer where they stopped. So maybe this is the same argument as the person who's urinating in the middle of prayer, that they have made an interruption in their prayer. So perhaps there's the same argument. One says you should go back to the beginning, and the other says you should go back to where you left off. So Rav Ashi rejects this. Rav Ashi says if that was the crux of their dispute, if that's really what they were arguing about, they should have discussed the element of delaying. They should have said it depends how long they were urinating for. If it was long enough to finish the entire prayer, then they start again. And the other one should say it doesn't matter how long he delayed, they continue from where they left off. Nowhere in their dispute do they mention the matter of how long the delay is for. Rather, everyone, both Rav Chisda and Rav Amanuna, would agree that if a person delayed continuing their prayer for an interval sufficient to complete the entire prayer, they start over again. And there, the dispute that's under discussion, the disagreement is regard to someone who did not pause long enough to finish the entire prayer. And the dispute centers on the status of the person who's praying in that particular case. One sage holds that since this person needed to urinate before they even began their prayer, because if they wouldn't have needed to before, then it wouldn't be filling down their pants after. So this person was disqualified from praying to begin with, because a person has to check themselves before prayer and go to the bathroom to make sure that they don't need the bathroom while they're praying. So from the beginning, they were disqualified and unfit for prayer, and their prayer is not a valid prayer to begin with, therefore they must start over again. And the other sage held that the person is fit for prayer, and therefore the beginning of their prayer is a valid prayer, and therefore they continue from where they left off. Our sages taught in a brisa, one who needs to relieve themselves may not pray, and if they pray, their prayer is an abomination. Rav Zavid and some say Rav Yehuda said in qualifying this statement, that is only in a case where a person really needs the bathroom and can't hold themselves in. But if a person can hold themselves in, their prayer is valid because the prayer is not tarnished by their need to relieve themselves. They're still able to focus on their prayers. And the Gemara asks, how long must they be able to restrain themselves? Rav Shesha said, as long as it takes to walk one parasang, which is about 72 minutes worth. If you know that you can hold yourself in for the next 72 minutes, so then that's considered already a little enough distraction that it's not distracting you from your prayers. But if a person knows that within the next 72 minutes it's going to be too much to handle, so then they're already considered distracted and they should not pray until they've gone to the bathroom. Some teach that this halacha was actually part of the brisa itself. And they say that the brisa went as follows. In what case was this statement said that a person is not allowed to pray If they need the bathroom, that is when they are unable to restrain themselves. But if they are able to restrain themselves, their prayer is a valid prayer. And how long? Rav Zvid says, as long as it takes to walk one parasang, which is approximately 4 kilometers, which is approximately 18 minutes. Yeah, 72 minutes, sorry. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani said that Rabbi Yonasan said, one who needs to relieve themselves may not pray. Because there is a verse. This verse says, prepare to greet your God, O Israel. Which means that you have to make preparations before you pray. So part of the preparations that a person has to make before they pray is to use the restroom. And one must be clear in his mind of all distractions to prepare to receive the Lord during prayer. In this context, the Gemara cites an additional statement which Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani said, in the name of Rabbi Yonatan. What is the meaning of that which is written in Ecclesiastes? Guard your foot when you go to the house of God and prepare to listen. It is better when fools offer sacrifices, as they know not to do evil. So what does that mean? That means when you enter the house of your Lord, guard yourself from transgression. And if you commit a transgression, bring a sacrifice before God in atonement. The verse continues, and draw near and listen to the words of the wise. Rava said, be prepared to hearken to the words of the wise. So if they commit a transgression, they bring a sacrifice and they repent. He interprets the next part of the verse, it is better than when fool gives sacrifice. That one should not act like the fool who commits a transgression and brings a sacrifice, but does not repent. But that doesn't help. If you commit a transgression and bring a sacrifice, you have to also have in mind to repent. Regarding the end of the verse, as they know not to do evil, the Gemara asks, if that's the case, that they know not to do evil, then why are you calling them a fool? They are righteous. Rather, it must be understood as follows. Do not be like fools who commit a transgression and bring a sacrifice, but are unaware whether they are bringing it as a thanks offering for the good or as an offering of atonement for all the evil. They don't know if they're saying thank you to God for the good that He has bestowed upon them, or sorry to God for all the bad things that they've done. This is the meaning of the verse, they know not to do evil, they know not if and when their actions are evil. With regard to these individuals, the Holy One, blessed be He, says, they cannot distinguish between good and evil, and yet they're bringing sacrifices before me? Rav Ashi, and some say Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa said, mind your orifices when you stand before God in prayer. What happens if a person is wearing tefillin? So today, I think it would be a common understanding that one cannot walk with tefillin into a bathroom. In those days, they didn't really have public bathrooms. I mean, they didn't have private bathrooms either. In those days, you could imagine what the bathrooms were like. They were holes in the ground. But usually, if a person needed to urinate, they would just go off to the side wherever they found a quiet spot, urinate, and continue going. So the sages taught that one who enters a bathroom must move their phylacteries at a distance of 4 cubits. Meaning you have to take off your tefillin 6 feet away from the bathroom before you go in. Rav Acha Bar Huna said in the name of Rav Sheshes that is only talking about a regular bathroom. But if it's a makeshift bathroom, one may remove their phylacteries right outside the door and defecate immediately. But when one exits, even if it's a makeshift bathroom, they must distance themselves 4 cubits before putting his tefillin back on, because now that he's used the bathroom, it's no longer makeshift. It's now an actual bathroom. So Rashi says over here, and this is helping us, a makeshift bathroom means a bathroom that has not yet been used. Nobody has ever defecated inside that bathroom. So the question is as follows. What if a person needs to urinate? So if a person is not going into a bathroom, not necessarily do they need to take off their tefillin. So in the olden days where they used to just walk off to the side and urinate and then come back to the road, would such a person need to take off their tefillin? The answer is no. But what happens if a person wants to urinate, but they go into a regular bathroom in order to urinate? So the dilemma was raised before the sages in the yeshiva. What is the halacha? What is the law? May one enter a regular bathroom wearing their phylacteries in order to urinate? So he doesn't need to defecate, just to urinate, which is an act that is not forbidden in the tefillin, but he's in a bathroom. The sages disagreed. Ravina permitted one to do so, while Rav Ada bar Masna prohibited it. They came to Rava, and Rava said it's not permitted. It is forbidden to walk with tefillin into the bathroom, even though this person only plans to urinate and not to defecate. Why? Because, first of all, we are concerned lest he will come to defecate with them still on. He's in the bathroom. He might end up defecating, and that would be a disgrace for the tefillin. Others say that the halacha is that we're concerned that since he's in the bathroom, he might forget that his phylacteries, his tefillin, are on his head, and will break wind with the tefillin on, and it's not appropriate to pass wind while one is wearing the tefillin. So if a person needs to go to the bathroom, so today, and in most synagogues, if you're praying in the sanctuary and you need the bathroom, you take off your tefillin, you leave them in your spot, you go to the bathroom, and you come back. But in the olden days, especially when people used to wear, do you know that people used to wear their tefillin all day?
No.
From the morning till the evening.
Does that make labor? Was that just the priest? Because it would be pretty hard to be a laborer while wearing tefillin.
That's a good question about the labor. Definitely all the people who were sitting in the study halls and learning in the yeshivas, those who were out in the fields, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
What about talus? Did they wear their talus?
The talus and tefillin, yeah. Yeah, they would wear their talus and tefillin the whole day. So what's the appropriate thing to do if you're walking in the street and you need the bathroom and you're wearing your tefillin? It was taught in another brayso, one who enters a regular bathroom must remove their tefillin 4 cubits, 6 feet away from the bathroom. Place them in the window, in the wall of the bathroom. In other words, there were holes in the wall so people could put their stuff down while they went inside the bathroom. So put it down and then enter. And when he exits, he must distance himself 6 feet before he puts them on. That is the statement of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel said he does have to remove his tefillin, but he can hold them in his hands when he goes into the bathroom. Rabbi Akiva says he holds them in his garment and enters. The Gemara wonders, do you really think that it means he should just put them inside his garment? That would be a problem, because perhaps they'll forget that their tefillin are in their garment, and then when they're moving their garments in order to sit down, the tefillin might, God forbid, fall on the floor. Rather, what he means is don't hold them directly in your hand, put them in your garment and hold your hand around your garment, and then into the bathroom. He holds the tefillin in his hand and covering it with his garment. It was established in the Brisa that if there is room to place them, then he could put them in holes that are outside the bathroom, but not if the holes are adjacent to the public domain, because maybe someone will steal these tefillin, and this person will come to be suspect of what? Suspect of that he doesn't believe in God because he's not wearing tefillin. So you should only put them in a place where people don't just see them and nick them. What do you think? You think someone would go and steal tefillin? Tefillin we wear in order to proclaim God's unity. Who would
Yes,
steal tefillin?
I believe people would steal anything.
Sell it.
Unfortunately, such is life. Sorry?
It would be hard to hold the tefillin in your hand while going to the bathroom at the same time. I mean, kind of bit of a juggling act there.
I agree. Especially in the olden day bathroom, they didn't have a seat even. We're not making a movie out of it.
Why not just put the tefillin in the tefillin bag and, have a strap on the tefillin bag? You can put it around your shoulder, like a lady's purse.
That would be a great answer. If it has two covers on it, then you're allowed to bring it in. That's a very good answer. Oh. Wow. An incident occurred. This is a very sad story. An incident occurred involving a student who placed his tefillin in the hole near the public domain. Right? He didn't listen to this, and he did put them in the public domain. There was a prostitute walking by, and she took the tefillin. I guess it had his name on it. And she came to the yeshiva, to the study hall, and she said, "You see, this boy was with me, and look, he gave me tefillin as his payment." When that student heard this, he ascended to the rooftop and jumped off and died.
Aye.
At that moment, they instituted that one should hold them with his garment and in his hand and enter the bathroom in order to avoid situations of that kind. What an evil woman. And what a sad story of the boy that he didn't think that anybody would believe him. All around a very sad story. So at that point, they said, you know what? Don't put your tefillin in the hole. Better, you should bring the tefillin into the bathroom with you, that nobody should steal your tefillin and claim that you have been doing inappropriate things. The sages taught in a brisa on this topic. At first, people would put the tefillin in the holes near the bathroom, and mice would come and take them, or mice would come and chew them. So they instituted that people should put them in the holes near the public domain where there are no mice. But then passersby could come and take the tefillin. So they instituted that one should hold the tefillin in their hand and enter. On this topic, Rabbi Meisha The son of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said the halacha in this case is that one should roll up the tefillin in their straps like a scroll and hold them in your hand opposite your heart. Rav Yosef Bar Yumi said that Rav Nachman said that is only if the tefillin straps are not sticking out more than about 4 inches below your hand.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Did people have pockets in those days?
You're asking a very good question. And from the side of things, it seems like they may not have, because it would be much easier just stick it in your pocket and that's it. That's all you need to do.
Well, what about today? I mean, we have pockets today. I mean, I wear cargo pants. It's got huge pockets. Could easily accommodate the tefillin.
Today we also have fancy tefillin bags. So
Yeah.
let's pause on this for a minute. Why not? So tefillin, as well as holy books, should not be taken into the bathroom. But if a person needs to, then if they're in 2 bags, that one bag is not specifically dedicated for the tefillin. So in your tefillin, you have one cover, which is the plastic case, and then you have the tefillin bag. So those are both considered covers for the tefillin. So they only count as one cover. But if you put that into a separate bag, then you can bring that into the bathroom.
Okay. But what about just taking the tefillin off and putting it in my pants pocket?
So it's better to first put them into the bag and then put that bag into your pants pocket if it fits.
Well, the bag wouldn't fit, but the tefillin itself would fit.
The tefillin would, but if it's in a plastic box, then the plastic box maybe could be considered one container, and your pocket would be the second container. So yeah,
Right.
You put it in a plastic box and put it in your bag. But thank God we live in a time where when you put them down on the table, you're not worried that a prostitute is going to walk off with them.
You never know.
I don't know.
I think we can be pretty certain
So
that there
far,
won't
we
be
have
a
only honest
prostitute.
people at Chabad Central Broward.
Yeah.
Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha said that Rabbi Zera said that it was only taught that a person can roll up their tefillin and go into the bathroom and then come out. That's only if there's still going to be time left in the daytime, because tefillin are only worn in the day, not at night. So it's only if there's enough time in the day to, when you come out of the bathroom, you'll be able to put them back on. However, if there is not left time in the day to put them on before nightfall, so then this person should make one kind of a pouch for them and put the tefillin inside the pouch. Similarly, Rabbi Bar Chana said that Rabbi Yochanan said that during the day a person could roll up the tefillin like a scroll and put them in your hand opposite your heart, and at night you should make a pouch for them and put them inside it. Abaye said they only said it has to be 1 hand breadth if it's a vessel which is the tefillin's regular container. But if it's a container that's not the regular container, you could put them in it even if it is less than 4 inches. Marzutra, and some say it was Rav Ashi, said is proof for the distinction between whether it is a regular pouch for the tefillin or not. The laws of impurity state that only a space of at least a handbreadth, which is about 4 inches, can serve as a barrier to prevent the spread of impurity imparted by a corpse. Nevertheless, if it's a small sealed vessel and it's less than a handbreadth, it does protect its contents. It does protect its contents from ritual impurity, even if it's inside the tent, the same tent as the corpse. This proves that there is a precedent for a space that is smaller than a handbreadth that could serve as a barrier before impurity. Rabba Bar Chana said, when we would walk after Rabbi Yochanan, and we would see that when he wanted to go to the bathroom while he was holding a holy book, he would give the book to us. But if he was holding his tefillin, he would not give them to us. Because he would say, if the sages had permitted to hold them, wow, look at that, finishing 2 pages in one day. 23a, we shall return to you. Since the sages permitted one to hold the tefillin in their hand, they will protect me. Even though there were people on hand that he could have given the tefillin to, he kept them to protect himself from danger. And Rabba said, when we would walk after Rabbi Nachman, we would see that when he was holding a book of Agad, a holy book, he would give it to us. And when he was holding the tefillin, he would not give them to us. And he said, if I'm allowed to bring them into the bathroom, I'm going to bring them into the bathroom, but they will protect me. And again, let's stop over here. But in those days, going to the bathroom was considered very dangerous. There was a special prayer people would make before they went into the bathroom, asking God to protect them and save them. They didn't have toilet paper. Imagine. They were always wiping themselves with rocks, and nobody knew when they're going to cut an artery. They were hoping that the smooth rocks that they found would be smooth enough. There also must have been a lot more germs in their bathrooms than we have in ours. So it wasn't a simple matter. We're going to get there. There's a special prayer that they would say before they went into the bathroom. Wishing you all a wonderful week, a happy week, a healthy week. I hope you learned something interesting today. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. here in Chabad Central Broward. I'm going to tell you the topic in just a moment. Our neighborhood Holy Land. Whether we live in Israel or in the diaspora, we should accept the spiritual mindset of the land of Israel, God's continuous presence in our lives. Looking forward to seeing you all there, God willing, tomorrow, 11 a.m. here at Chabad.
And happy
Take care and have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weather. And Rita, I hope the new oxygen comes and works out well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zalman. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Brett. And thank you, Rita. All of you have an incredible day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good day.
Do you celebrate Thanksgiving, Rabbi?
Oops. Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, everyone's still there. Wait, 1 second. I thought I closed the meeting. Do we celebrate Thanksgiving? That's a wonderful question. I don't usually eat turkey.
Rabbi's still on.
I am still on? Yeah, if the question was about turkey, I don't usually eat turkey on Thursday. But Thanksgiving is very, very, very important. Take care. All the best.
Thank you. Same to you.
See everyone. Sure.